Welcome to Don't Take This Personally.
A podcast about the business of creativity.
Yes.
We are your hosts, Cami Oliveria.
And Gabriel Conover.
Welcome to our second episode.
Yes.
Welcome back. If you made it through our first episode, congratulations.
Yes.
I hope you like what you hear. If you didn't hear our first episode, you should listen. You can hear all about our stories and who we are and what the hell we're doing here.
Empathize with our spouses a little bit.
Yep. But I'm just going to assume you did your homework and you listened to that. So
Yes.
we're just going to dive right into our topic. We're going to talk about like a real topic today and
Yes.
might ruffle some feathers,
Yes.
but we're going to start hot and heavy.
Yeah, so we picked this topic just because we think it's like the most relevant thing that we could be talking about to our industry, and then according just like along with what's happening in today's culture and stuff like that. So yeah, today
And I just think it's really foundational. No matter
yes.
what kind of creative pursuit someone is going into, this is just going to be extremely foundational.
yeah, and so much can come out of it.
Yes.
So yeah, today we're talking about the artist brain versus the business brain.
And how to marry the two, maybe.
Yes, maybe.
Maybe. Just kind of like the differences between those two kind of sides to us and kind of the pros and cons to both and how to have a successful business while also being a creative person.
Yeah, and something I think that a lot of us in the creative industry take for granted is that we really are privileged to do something that we love and do something that inspires us, and we can really take that for granted. So Cami and I feel like we really understand how important it is to have a business brain and to really focus and capitalize on using that over your artist brain so that we can continue to be artists.
Yeah.
Because the reality is we don't get to just do whatever we want all the time.
No, and I think it's easy to get jaded when you've been doing this for a while. And I don't know about you, but I too have to remind myself how fucking lucky I am. Like sometimes when I get frustrated or discouraged or I'm having an off week or whatever, I have to sit down and be like, Cami, you take pictures for a living.
Yeah.
You go to parties for a living.
Literally dance
You make
on the
people
weekends.
happy. Like you're here editing pictures and it's so fun watching a TV show and you're
Yes.
making an incredible living. Like how lucky are you?
Yes, I take this for granted all the time because
Yeah.
sometimes I'll be with my friends who aren't in the creative industry and I'll just be venting about problems that I'm having, or like maybe they'll be asking me questions and I'm just like sitting here talking about the minor crap that I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
And they just like look at me and they're just like, Gabe, like shut up.
Yeah.
You have the dream job. And I know I do. I know that I'm lucky to have this job and I don't want to take it for granted. But I see a lot of people in the industry that really just don't recognize how lucky we are. And so that's really what we want to talk about today. Something that I tell a lot of my mentor students and at workshops that I've hosted in the past, one of the first things I say before I start teaching is that I really do look at myself as a businessman first and a photographer second, or an artist second. And Cami actually had a good point too, is that actually it's more that we are service providers first, business people second, and artists third.
I've always thought of myself as primarily a service provider more than a photographer. I've always said that if I decided not to do photography anymore for whatever reason, I believe I could find another career path that would be just as fulfilling as long as I was serving people and making people happy, making the world brighter, better, whatever it is. And to me, that has always been first. And I like that you say that, business hat second, artist third.
Yep.
Some people will probably disagree with me about that, but we have quite the case for why this is your best bet to having a sustainable, healthy business for a long time.
Yes, that's so true. And I think that Cami and I are also coming from a position where, like, in my situation, I'm the sole provider in my home. And so I have a different perspective where, like, my wife doesn't work. She stays home with our kids. So I literally have to be successful. I've kind of gotten to the point where I know that I can't be picky, and I can't just only do the work that I want to do, because that's not sustainable for a lifestyle here in Southern California where it's expensive, and I have 3 kids to support, and like we have a mortgage, so it's just not realistic. So yeah, I think that first off, I just want to kind of state the fact that, like, art is a luxury. Being able to work in the artistic community is a luxury. And I know so many people who are not in the creative industry that would die to do what I do, because they know that I'm inspired every single day. I'm passionate about my job. And that really is the American dream, right? To love what you do.
Yeah, something that I think is really interesting. I've said this on other podcasts I've been a part of, in other conversations. You'll probably hear me tell this story 12 more times at least. I don't care. It's that important. So when I was young, my dad has always given me the best business advice. He's a very successful business owner himself. He just sold his business. I'm very proud of him. He's like the most successful person I know, essentially. And so, like my whole life, him and my stepmom really like paved the way for me on just kind of showing me what is possible for my life. And so when I was in elementary school, I thought this was going to manifest in being a professional musician. I basically wanted to be Paramore if Haley Williams was the drummer. Like that's what I wanted for my life. And so we'd be in the car on the way to drum lessons, and my dad would be like, look, you can be the best artist in the world, but if you are not smart, kind, treat people well, have a good head for business, if you don't have all those other pieces, it doesn't matter how good you are at what you do. Like, you'll never make it. And that was probably some intense advice to give like a 10-year-old, but I have held on to that every day since, and I let that pave my way for my whole future. I always knew, like, okay, I can be good at whatever it is, but I have to take the business side seriously. I have to be smart. I have to treat people well. I have to think like a business person and a service provider. And if I do that, I get to do the art.
Yes, you get to. That's
and
the thing.
I think that was a really critical thing that was really instilled in me from a really, really early age. I don't even think he understands. He probably doesn't even remember saying that to me, but I don't think he understands like that piece of advice like shaped my entire future, basically. And yeah, he would always say like, the best musicians in the world, you can look at them. The most successful ones are also brilliant business people, Cammie. That's not an accident.
No, you're so right.
So I've always really taken that to heart and always focused on that as much, if not more, than perfecting my art.
Totally. And yeah, I mean, the reality is, unless you are the owner of Gucci, like, you don't get to just only do whatever you want.
Correct.
Like I look at Gucci clothes and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Those don't look that great.
No.
But it doesn't matter because, that person specifically, they're like the only person in the world that gets to just have an artist mind, and they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
But they did create this name for themselves at the same time.
Yeah.
We don't get to do that.
No.
We don't get to start at the top. We start at the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
Which means doing things that are not inspiring, doing things that we're not passionate about. But with that comes so many opportunities to explore our creativity that we wouldn't have had before.
Why I think this is important is because whether you're just starting out in whatever creative pursuit you're doing, I want to encourage you to kind of get this side of things on lock as you are also building the creative sides of this.
Yes.
I see a lot of people overly focused on, just being the best photographer or the best creative, whatever it is, and kind of like forgetting that they're also a service provider and a business owner. And then also, even if you're not just starting out, this fucking matters.
Yes.
Because if you have been in business 5 years, whatever it is, and shit hits the fan, like a lot of us have experienced, like in the wedding industry and so many other industries, you have to fall back on the fact that you're a business owner and a service provider first and an artist second. In the best of times, you can probably get away with acting like an artist all the time. But in the worst of times, it's going to fall back to these, you got to put your business hat on and do the hard thing for the best of the business and your clients. And so this is just so important no matter where you are in your stage of business.
Totally. And the best of times does not maintain for very long. It doesn't it doesn't last.
Yeah, we've all been given like a crash course in how to run a good business in the last year.
Yeah, we've all been forced to, and I think that's a really good kind of segue. I just want to talk a little bit about how just personally, especially over the last year, and like I've grown my business rather quickly. I went full time when I was in 2018, January of 2018. Obviously I thought that, after my first successful year, things would just kind of keep going up from there. But the reality of 2020 and COVID has obviously changed and shaped that into something else. But luckily, I feel like naturally I'm a very adaptable person, and change is something I thrive off of. Ask my wife, it stresses her out a lot. We are a great mix. But this last year has truly forced all of us to figure out how we are going to survive, because we're in the event industry, which is probably, arguably the most heavily impacted industry by the pandemic, just because our jobs literally revolve around getting giant groups of people together.
Our jobs depend on the ability for groups to gather.
Yes, in large quantities,
back to back.
Yes, and like dancing, breathing all over each other, getting drunk, like that's literally
I become very aware of how disgusting our jobs are.
That's so true.
I've become so aware of it. Like, I think back and I'm like, how many times have I been in the middle of a dance floor? My camera's above my head. I can feel people sweating on me.
Sweating. And you're sweating.
And I'm sweating.
I'm getting thrown up in the air.
Oh my gosh. All of a sudden I'm grinding with a guest. It's a whole thing.
So real. So real.
All of a sudden I'm dancing with an uncle.
Yes.
I'm like, who have I touched?
And me with an aunt.
Oh my god, I'm eating snacks with dirty hands.
Yes.
I haven't been anywhere near sanitizer or a sink that day.
Oh, I'm dead. That's so real.
Grazing the charcuterie table with
literally
filthy hands. Yeah,
so
our jobs
real.
are disgusting.
It's true. And honestly, this last year, our jobs have had the opportunity to completely go away if we did not make conscious decisions and decide that we were going to do whatever it takes to keep it afloat, which has been an absolute struggle. I'm telling you, an absolute struggle. I know that I've just kind of branched out in so many different ways trying to make money and, being creative in that way. I know Cammie has too, from like releasing presets to I opened my new studio, just stuff like that. And I see a lot of photographers and people in the creative industry trying to figure out online options for education, doing stuff like that. And everyone's trying their best to adapt. Well, not everyone.
Not everyone.
Because some people don't. They loved their luxurious lifestyle that they had before, doing exactly what they love. Yeah. And it was taken from them and they're not happy about it.
I mean, I had to grieve that for sure.
Oh, for
sure. And I still go through waves of it. Like, I didn't realize how fragile all of that was. Because I've been doing this long enough to where when I booked something, it felt ironclad. Like, my schedule would book out a year and a half out. That felt safe and secure.
So safe.
And I get so excited about things. So, like, kind of seeing them go away or change, that was pretty painful. And so I was resistant to it at first. It took me probably, like, 4 to 5 months of just being in shock and grief and anxiety and depression. And then kind of over the summer, something switched in me where I was like, okay, I'm going to make the best of this, whatever that looks like. Yeah.
And I've gone in waves. Like, in the very beginning, I was like, I don't really care. It's just a couple months. I had a baby anyway. I had literally blocked out March and April from work. And it was like, perfect. I don't care. Yeah. Like, I can be shut down for a couple months.
So your
no
panic
big deal.
was delayed a little
bit.
So
That's delayed. Really and then it started to get real. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's right. I remember when we talked in the beginning, you were like, I don't think I'm going to be that affected by this because my March and April was cleared out anyways.
Yep. Little did we know. Anyway, the point is, I think a lot of people can relate to what I'm about to say, is that we work hard to be allowed to be creative. Yeah. Because, again, I've said this 5 times already. It is a luxury. Loving your job is a luxury, and it's a privilege that not many people get to have. So, So
you can be an artist. You can be an incredible artist. You can think of yourself as an artist, but I do believe that the businesses that have the business-minded side to it, and really prioritize the service provider mindset, will survive longer.
They will. They just will.
That might be controversial to say, but
but it's reality.
It's real.
It is. Yeah. It's true. And I mean, Cammie and I talk all the time about, if you just look at our reviews, if you look at the reviews on the Knot that we have, every single one of them is almost exactly the same. Not exactly the same, but it's obvious that we deliver the same type of experience to every single one of our clients. And what are they talking about? Sure, they love their photos. Sure, they're so happy that they have them. But what they're talking about more is the experience that they got from us.
Most of the time, they don't even mention their photos, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like an afterthought.
Yeah.
Like, she was the best. She made us feel so good. She was so fast at responding. She took care of us. It was so fun. She was our hype woman. She did this. And then it'll be like, oh yeah, and our pictures were awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that's almost like an afterthought. Yeah. And I do think we're going to get into this in future episodes, but there's a reason Gabe and I both shoot a shit ton of weddings and get a lot of referrals.
Yes.
Hands down.
Literally more than 60 to 70% of the weddings I book are from client or vendor referrals.
That's a very good sign.
It's such a good sign. I think it's a red flag, honestly, if that's not the case for a lot of people, just because I'm like, well, why aren't your old clients referring you? Why aren't people talking about you to their friends?
And this is a classic example of how I went full-time really early in my career, not even on purpose, and honestly, not when I was very good. I look at the work and some of the galleries I was shooting in my first 2 years. I should not have been booking 30 to 40 weddings a year at that skill level. But I was. And why? Not because I was the best photographer ever. I most definitely was not, but because I am me. And that sounded so cocky. I mostly meant...
I am me. Cami is I. Cami is me.
No, I meant because of the experience we provide.
Yes.
You know, because even in the very beginning, I was excited. I came full of energy and optimism and support. I took the business side seriously right away because, you know, sometimes people don't know the difference, especially in the beginning when you're not charging a lot. You're kind of maybe attracting a clientele that, you know, doesn't have the highest standard for photography. And so they don't know what they're looking at between really different photographers. But what you can use to stand out is your experience. And I think in the beginning, that's really important. To building your business, treating people well will get you more referrals, more work, so you can keep perfecting the art of it. And then that also applies to your later years in business. Just because you get really good does not mean you can rely on that, because I have people who have booked me over photographers I love a lot, and I would say their work is better than mine.
Such a great point.
And I've had people be like, yeah, you know, there was like the more expensive option for this reason or whatever, and I thought I wanted to work with this person, but then after talking to you, like, I knew you would make us feel so good.
After talking to you. That's the key phrase.
Yes. And it fucking matters, you guys. It fucking matters.
Yes, it does. And Cami and I kind of sat down and like just wrote down a little list of like, what are the things that do keep us in business? What are the things that we are giving to our clients that other people are not? And really it just comes down to our client experience, our vendor experience, clear, simple processes, follow through, security, being genuine, and then consistency. And I mean, we're also very highly communicative people. I think that plays a lot into it as well.
How would you describe security?
For security, and I was going to definitely go into this a little bit, is I feel like people want... Okay, remember, this is someone's wedding day. They get one of them. Then there's no redos. God willing. So
I've had one repeat customer.
Stop it. So yeah, they get one wedding. So like, this is their one chance. They want to know that whoever they're hiring is going to do the job that they were promised. Maybe even better of a job. And that's my goal. Like I make clear, you know, examples of this is exactly what you're going to get. And I over deliver so that people, you know, they don't even expect these big surprises. I say I'm going to deliver things within 4 weeks. They get them in 3. You know, it's just making people feel comfortable and knowing that we've got it. We've got everything in control, and they will be completely satisfied or with the extraordinary experience they got from us.
I think it's important too, on that note, the security, to always under promise and over deliver, because a great example of this is I was mentoring a photographer one time where on their kind of a list of promised services, they would say, at least 1,400 final edited images. And I was like, okay. I asked her, I was like, how many images are you actually delivering? And she was like, you know, between 1,200 and 1,400. I was like, okay, if you told them at least 1,400, they're going to be mad at you if they get 1,200. Whereas if you told them 800 and they got 1,200, oh my God, you would have just fucking blown their minds. It's just, it's all about proper expectation setting.
Yes, totally.
And so I say, like, I deliver 600 to 700 final edited images. People are impressed when they hear that number.
It's already a giant number. It's overwhelming.
They're like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I often double that. Consistently. I'm an over deliver. It's a problem.
I mean, I am too, but wow.
Yeah, I am often delivering like 1,000 to 1,300 images, like, pretty commonly.
Yeah, for sure.
So, same with like delivery times. Do you think it will realistically take you 6 weeks to get a gallery back? Cool. Tell them 8 to 10 if that's your number, because you will fall behind if you get busy, or life comes up, you might have to take I mean, you have kids, you might
Yeah.
have to take a surprise few days off, or I don't know, or
Totally.
like
Someone could
maybe
be sick.
maybe my dog has to go to the hospital and
Yeah.
I have to take a surprise day off. You
Yep.
know, just I don't know, always under promise, over deliver, blow their minds, exceed their expectations.
Yes.
Be intentional about delivering a consistent product so that, you know, you're not. This is why it's really important to send couples full gallery so they know exactly what to expect. That's a conversation for another day. But moving on, I think you guys get it.
Yeah, totally. And we'll
Yeah.
dive more into the client and vendor experience in future episodes because they're extremely important. And
Yeah.
like Cammie and I do very specific things just to make the process as simple and like, you know, clear to our clients as possible.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what else do we have to say?
We had a few examples.
Yes, we do have some examples because we obviously like real life things and just kind of giving situations where, I mean, reality is we work in the creative industry, and so there are going to be a lot of people that respond to situations different from us, especially because we are more business minded people.
Yeah.
So
that was an important thing to say. I wanted to say the next few things we might talk about might get a little opinionated.
Yeah.
And you might not agree, and that's fine. If anything, this last year has taught me that we don't all need to do things the same way. We can run our businesses however we damn well please.
Right.
But this matters to me because, oh man, I almost said something so offensive. I stopped myself. So run your business how you want. It's okay if we don't agree, but it's important to know if there are problems. This could point them out. You know what I mean? Like, if you're like, something's not working and I don't know why, maybe it's this.
Perfect.
So
I think the most relevant example right now is just talking about everything that has happened with COVID and rescheduling. Everyone in the event industry can understand this was an unprecedented time. No one knew this was coming. We all all of our clients planned their weddings for next year, not expecting anything to keep them from happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, normally when people want to postpone a wedding, most of us have in our contracts that there's rescheduling fee. And yeah, Cammie, I feel like I just kind of want you to kind of take this one away.
Yeah, so I'm pretty opinionated about this, and I do feel like I'm in the minority, and that can be really hard for me because I want to feel like I'm doing things like everyone else, but to me, it doesn't feel right to, you know, be like imposing fees or raising rates on people if they need to postpone their wedding due to COVID because they don't want to be postponing their wedding.
Yes.
They do feel forced. I believe that from when I put my service provider hat on and the business minded hat on, the right thing to do is to accept that we're all in this together. It's temporary. No, this doesn't set a precedent for how I'll handle reschedules the rest of my life.
Right.
But this, you just have, I mean, I could do a whole episode on how I truly feel about this topic.
Totally.
But I think the important key to keep in mind is just thinking like a business-minded person and not emotionally reactive or like an artist. You know, like, just think things through. Like, if you're asking people to pay you on the original date their wedding was supposed to happen, but then they postpone, again, okay, cool. So now you're out money. Like, you're not going to be getting paid for that wedding when it happens. You're going to feel like you aren't making money, or you have to refund it if they end up canceling and you've already used it to spend. Like, I'm just proposing to, like, think through these things. Totally. Like, these kind of reactive things we're doing. Kind of think through, like, okay, think of all, like, the A, B, C, D, E, F, G things that can happen, and does this solve any problems for you, or is it just to make a point? And so
to make a point.
This is something I have to stop myself a lot with when my gut reaction is to impose a fee or ask for something. Is this actually solving one of my problems, or is this just to freaking make a point?
Right.
If it's to make a point, you probably shouldn't do it because all it's going to do is negatively hurt your business or your client experience, especially if it doesn't actually solve your problems.
Totally. And two things that I kind of want to point out is, one, from a business perspective, honestly, this will pay itself forward. You know, like being that considerate, empathetic person that is waiving these fees is going to make your clients like obsessed with you and just like tell all their friends, sing your praises even more to them. Like, oh my God, Gabe like waived the reschedule fee for us. Like, he didn't have to do that. How kind is he? You should book him, yada, yada, yada.
It protects your business to act like this.
Totally. And
like,
then,
it really does.
Totally. It does. And then from just like a personal perspective and, you know, you're a real human perspective, trying to like, you know, get on their level and just be empathetic with them, it just, it it is the right thing to do. And that's just the reality.
And if it's the right thing to do, it's probably the right thing to do for your business.
Right,
because
exactly.
we're in the business of people.
Exactly. And being human is okay. And so I'll just give like a personal example of like last year, it was like a no-brainer for me. I'm not going to charge anyone a fee. It just didn't make any sense. It wasn't right.
We were all blindsided.
We were all blindsided.
Yeah.
We were all like struggling through it. And then this year with people postponing again, I was having a really hard time telling, not like waiving my postponement fee again this year. And it was just something I was really struggling with because, like I've got a family to provide for. My prices have gone up by X amount. So like, these people booked me almost 2 years ago. And so like, how come, how is my business going to grow? And I actually did like a little flip flop because I had a few people reach out to me and I told them that there was going to be a, certain amount of rescheduling fee. They both actually were really gracious and understanding. And then I kind of just went back on it. And I think, taking a step away and like seeing that I'm still okay. The things that I've done to kind of make money this last year are paying for itself. And like, it's helping me out when I thought I was struggling. So I literally just, I became human again. And I was like, I told them, I was like, honestly, like I changed my mind and that's okay. I think that's something that a lot of people are afraid to do because they just, I don't know if it's embarrassing to them.
No, it is. I get it. But I also want to point out the sad reality of being a business owner is we aren't entitled to growth every year.
Totally. That's such a good point.
And that sucks.
It's so hard for me to say something like that.
Yes, and that is what I had to grieve the loss of for a long time.
Grieve the loss of growth. Oh, that's
that
so
I was
good.
like, look at like 2019 was my best year ever for all these reasons. Like the next year is only going to go up, up, up. We aren't entitled to that. Businesses aren't entitled to that. Businesses have down years and up years, and that's the path we chose. So if we wanted to pick a path where we would get like the same amount of money or more year after year, get our raises, get our whatever, then like you should have fucking stayed at Starbucks, dude.
Totally.
And like worked up the corporate ladder, as much as it hurts, we aren't entitled.
Oh, you're so right. And that's it's honestly such like a selfish mindset that I have sometimes where I'm just like, growth and like being known is the thing that drives me more than anything. So like if I'm not growing in my mind, I'm failing. Yes. I'm competitive, but only with myself. So if myself is not like climbing the ladder more, then like what am I doing with my life?
But
that's my mindset.
Successful businesses.
Yes.
Year after year, it's not
up and down.
It's not a constant up. It's going to go up and down and ebb and flow, and everyone's businesses are hurting right now. So
and at this point, surviving is success.
Totally. Like, man, I somehow managed to like still pay the bills last year.
Seriously, same.
At like 25% work capacity as what I had planned.
Unreal.
That's a miracle. We won.
Is. We literally won.
We won.
You're so right. Oh my gosh. Revelation after revelation.
Our timer's about to go off. We have 1 minute left. There was other stuff we wanted to talk about. This is classic.
Classic Gabe and Cammy.
Gabe and Cammy, but
second episode, already struggling.
I know, but this episode was just to get you to think about the things that are not just about being an artist.
Correct.
But put your business hat on, put your people hat on, because if you are in this kind of business as a creative entrepreneur, I can't say that word.
It's a terrible word.
Where you have human clients, you're a service provider first. And I think that is often forgotten, especially in the wedding industry.
Yes. And it pays for itself.
It pays for itself.
It really does. Like, I'm always going to be an artist. I will always be in some sort of industry that involves art. But you know what? My passion for art is going to come and go. But that is something like, it's just like our businesses going up and down, like my passion for photography and my passion for art is going to go up and down.
Excellent point.
Yeah.
Like you're not constantly inspired every single day. So the business side to this and the service provider side to this is what will keep us going.
Correct. It's what's going to continue. Shut up.
Okay, that was a really good point to end on.
Yeah, it was. It was perfect.
As a creative person, the inspiration is going to look different every day, but the thing that keeps us showing up for our couples and treating them well and doing the job even when we aren't feeling inspired is the fact that first and foremost we're serving our clients and running a business.
And we're doing a really good job at it.
We really are.
We are.
Wow.
To surviving.
We did it. Okay, episode 2. Don't take any of that personally.
No, seriously.
Seriously. We'll see you next time.
Yes, we will.
Okay,
Thank you.
Bye.